Yeah. And then I had 45 minutes. So it's perfect.
Okay, great. So we'll try and keep it under an hour and a half, but you're a busy man throwing everything together last minute, but
Yeah,
awesome.
of course. Right. Of course. Last minute. But,
Amazing.
yeah.
Well, Timothy Olson, welcome to the podcast, my friend. It's so freaking awesome to see you, especially after the 10 minutes of audio visual difficulties that we just endured trying to connect. How are you, buddy?
Yeah. Doing great, man. Yeah. Awesome to see you again. It's been way too long. Just to see your smiling face is great. And just grateful to be on the podcast with you.
Likewise, bro. Well, thanks so much for being here. How are things in the People's Republic of Boulder, which, people might not know is my hometown too, and now is your actual hometown, home base. How are things there? How's the family?
Yeah, it's missing Debo for sure, but no, we're doing wonderful. It's good to be back here. I've spent a good amount of time last year in Costa Rica, so we've only been here a few months, and in that time we've been kind of preparing for the PCT. So we went and did a week kind of recon / just kind of getting ready with the logistics of the RV and everything that can go wrong, trying to do that before we start it. So we've been doing that. And so doing a little camping, just even last week, actually, we went and did a little camping up in the RV just close to here, but just getting used to the RV. We like being in the outdoors. The boys are great out there. So we feel comfortable there, but good to be back home and getting just see all the wildlife. The flowers are finally coming up after the 10th snowstorm here. And it's been a lot of snow, April, May. So we're finally seeing some flowers and Boulder coming to life. So it's good to see.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, I want to talk more about the dress rehearsal and things that you're referencing. And obviously it looks like you're putting the finishing touches on your preparation and getting some extra camping in before you are spending your life out in the wilderness. And of course, we're going to spend most of our conversation talking about your upcoming FKT attempt on the Pacific Crest Trail, an absolutely huge undertaking. I'm just wondering, how are you feeling ahead of what is definitely going to be sort of the biggest undertaking of your athletic career? Are you feeling confident? Are you feeling excited? Is there some trepidation and nervousness? How's it feeling with this huge adventure out in front of you?
Yeah, man, you said it all. I'm feeling it all. It's incredible, the waves that come through of confidence. Like, I have moments of confidence, and that it's beautiful to feel those. And then moments of what the hell am I getting into? I've never done anything like this, nor is it something you can exactly train for. I went and did a week of 45 to 50 miles a day. And so I can kind of give, a little demonstration of what it's going to be like, but trying to go out there to cover the whole distance, doing the physical, mental part of that. But then just so much goes into it. I'm bringing my family along for the adventure. My wife is pregnant. There's a pandemic that's been going on for a while, and the world's just been crazy. And I see this as just what I always do, going off into nature and to be rejuvenated, refreshed. And anytime I can do that with my family along for parts of it as much as possible, it's going to be a wild ride. And I think what I'm doing is just trying to embrace all those feelings of the everything that comes up, because there's definitely moments where I lose some sleep, and then moments where it's just I feel relaxed. And I've been doing the work. I've been putting in the work for this for many years. I have an incredible team with me of, helping with logistics, helping, with food. I have Kelly of Real Athlete Diets that does all of our Run Mindful retreats. She's coming along with us. And she's everyone that's coming along is family. Jason Coop, me and your coach is coming along, and he's going to be out there. And so, there's so much into it, and I can get overwhelmed at moments. And then moments where it's just let's go have an adventure. Let's
get started.
And most definitely recently, it's please let this just start so I can stop talking about it. And like, it's so funny to talk about all the interviews and stuff of like talking about it. I haven't done it.
Right.
I haven't done anything. I'm hoping to go out there and give my best, give my whole heart out there. And that could look of finishing it and accomplishing it in this, dream of an FKT and everything that goes with that. Or I could be bit by a snake or a rolled ankle, day, whatever. And so yeah.
Well, dude, I'm so excited for you. And obviously I want to go into more detail about a lot of the things that you just mentioned there, but it's amazing, obviously, of a physical and emotional undertaking, but then also managing all those logistical things. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are curious to hear all about that stuff now. And as you said, you're talking about this quite a lot before you even get on the trail. And you and I have known each other for a long time. And so I definitely do want to talk about other stuff in addition to the PCT. We've been buddies now for like a decade, which is absolutely wild to think about. And I wondered, I guess this is peripherally kind of related to the PCT, but kind of as you look at your career now and in context, like how does this project sort of fit within the arc of your story as you see it? I just, you're one of my personal heroes in the sport. It's somebody who I always looked up to and admired throughout my career as well. And you've achieved just amazing things. You've gone through highs and lows, and now you have this other amazing thing. I just wondered if you had any comments about how this project sort of fits within the greater context of Tim Olson's career.
Yeah, it's a good question. You want to be known for, giving your best out there. And I've had, highs and lows with racing and whatnot. And then going into something like this where, some people like, ask me, so who are you racing out there or whatnot? And this definitely is like a cumulative of my career of ultra running. I remember when I moved to Ashland, Oregon, and ran into, the legends there of Hal Kerner, Ian Torrance, who introduced me to trail running. I wasn't aware of ultra distance and even really trail running before I moved to Oregon, Ashland, Oregon in 2009, and then met ultrarunners, and they kind of brought me in, and the trails in Ashland, Oregon all led to the Pacific Crest Trail. So I ran on the Pacific Crest Trail a lot of my first races, and so many memories on the Pacific Crest Trail. So that is so deep in my heart. And I have so much love and appreciation for the trail, for, just everything about it. And I've put races, I've helped do trail work on it, organize races that have raised money for it. And so it means a lot to me. And it's where my running career started. And I was coming back talking to Hal and Ian, like when I first started running, I was like, man, this Pacific Crest Trail looks dope. I need to go run it. And they, looked at me like I was crazy, and I was crazy. I was just, something that just sputtered out of me, but like, it's been in my heart for forever. And they told me, you should probably wait a few years, like, go get some racing that it could really beat you up. And I thought about it for a little bit. I'm like, yeah, that seems kind of smart. But it's always been in my back of my mind. Like, I really would like to do the Pacific Crest Trail. And I don't want to say it's like, capping off an end of a career, or, like if I finish this, like that is so meaningful. But I think just the opportunity to go out and do this and do it with my family and just show it to the world. We're going to go and, going to video this and put it out there, and who knows what's going to happen. And, hopefully I can do it gracefully, whether I, I'm strong in crushing days or having some really low moments, and my brain and body is messing with me. And I hope like to just keep coming back to my practice of meditation, and something that I've shared through my career. And I feel like this is a really good time in my life to kind of just show who I am, what I'm about, and put it out there for the world. And and I would like to finish it. Like, even I don't worry about the FKT thing as much. It's just like, I'd really like to finish this trail I get this other really awesome thing that my wife reminds me of all the time is we have a baby due in August, the end of August. And so like, I wasn't too worried about like, if I have some problems and I have to extend this for another month or something, no problem.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of the point where like
sense of
there is an actual deadline. Like
TikTok, Dad, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Both of my other boys were early too, like a couple of weeks early. So it's just like, there's all these things, and my wife is like, what happens if I'm going into labor on day whatever?
Yeah.
And me and Coop, my coach, have talked about this, and it comes back to my family is the most important. My kids are the most important. That if there's anything going on, I stop the PCT in a second to go help them. But I'm really looking forward to this, and I would really like to put on a good show and and have fun, like really, go out there and do what I love of being in nature, connecting with nature, and just showing the world all the beauty that's out there that they can go see themselves.
Yeah. I was just curious because we're coming up on the 9-year anniversary of when you won Western States for the first time.
Is it 9 years? Wow.
9 years. It was 2012, bro. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And, obviously you've done amazing things within the sport. Not just that, you are an absolute icon, somebody who I think people look to as like a representative of like what ultra running is. And looking at you through Zoom right now, like you just have the most powerful beard and, your trademark look.
It's coming in. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like your run mindful retreats and just sort of like bring this amazing spirit to the sport. And, thinking about what you've done up to this point and now with the PCT, obviously, as you said, this isn't like a capstone. It's not the end of a career, but it does seem like the natural progression for you after achieving great things, going through some hard times, coming back, being a family man throughout all of it, and now tackling the trail that sort of brought you into the sport to begin with. It's kind of a beautiful story. As a sports fan myself, as somebody who watches sports documentaries, I can't wait to see the film that you guys put together. But looking back now, like at 9 years ago, right, with Western States, it's funny because, I was in the race that year. We ran together a shitload.
Yeah. You gave me a goo.
Dude, this is the story I wanted to tell. So, I mean, before we get to that story, because it's one of my favorites of all time, I wondered if you maybe just wanted to provide a reflection as we sort of come up to Western States this year after the pandemic year when there's been no racing and people are so excited for it. Just maybe provide your perspective with 9 years to look back on what must have been a life-changing day for you. Just maybe the overarching feelings that you have looking back at that. What do you remember and how it changed your life?
Yeah. Just as you say that, I think about Western States and I get goosebumps and can feel the energy of such a cool sport. Like the word that comes is just grateful. I'm grateful for Western States, for such a beautiful sport, and community of people that, especially going to Western States, and everyone that's there is just, loving and caring and, caring for nature and not even just people, but like it's a sport I want to be associated with. And when I got done with high school, I kind of quit sports and I did basketball and all those team things. And then after some troubling years, I found running again, and running was is a lifesaver. Sport really has changed my life and for good. And thinking of Western States, of going there, the first, I went there and you just helped crew the first time I was there. And the second year I ran it and had a ton of stomach issues in the 6th place, and then came back in 2012. And, I had a couple good races, but I wasn't one of the top favorites, and just my training went so well. And I felt just so prepared for that race. And I don't know that race. It was the year that Tristan was born. He was born 2 months after that. So we had a new home in Oregon. I was working 3 jobs. His life was pretty hectic, but it was just that cumulative of so much work going into it, of having this dream of going to Western States and win, visualizing that, daily, having friends like Hal, who's won it and like gave me encouragement of like, your training's amazing. You got this, man. And, rolling in there with that confidence of like having the community of Ashland of ultra runners supporting me, and then going there and the whole day, it was cold, it was nasty. People mentioned I was running around like, like a wet dog running around with a big smile. And I felt like that. I felt like, just running around like a dog hanging its head out of a window, like just happy and free. And, I had some low moments in that race, but I had such a great experience. It was like, it changed my life, because I went from, me and you were teammates at the time, Pearl Zumi, gotta rock that. And, and then from there, like Western States winning it, and then like capping off with a record. Like I didn't even know I was under the record until, mile 89 or something. And everyone's screaming at me, like, AJW grabbed me. It's like, you're under the course record. Go, go, go. I just dropped my pacer. So I was kind of confused there. Hal was over there. I'm like, do you want to join in for the last few miles? He's like, yeah, I ate some sardines. I'm ready to roll, man. It's just like so many good stories came from that day, and just, good vibes from everyone. And to like win it was awesome. But, it was just an incredible day. And then it changed my life. I ended up like signing with the North Face and turning this into a career. Like I didn't know running would be a career.
You were a massage therapist at the time.
Yeah. And my first sponsor was me. Like I printed my massage, like Timothy Olson massage. And that was like
phone number on the front. Yeah.
I didn't put the phone number, but that would be an idea. I don't think the wife would have liked that.
Dude, Go ahead. I mean,
what a change.
Just gonna say, what a beautiful way to describe that. I mean, it's funny because I had Kat Bradley on the podcast not long ago, and obviously she's been a Western States champion herself, and she described something similar before the race, where just like she had this feeling, this confidence about her preparation, and she had just this deep excitement about what laid ahead. And even though she came in totally not as one of the favorites, as you mentioned, was the case with you as well, but just carried this like confidence and energy with her that she'd been feeling for months ahead of time. And I actually remember this too, Tim, because you mentioned we were both running for Pearl Izumi at the time. Mm-hmm. And they had gotten an A-frame house in the Tahoe area right before the race. And I was staying elsewhere, but I came by to hang out with you guys. And I remember that you and I were talking, and you had said that like you had gone out for like an 8-mile run that day and like stopped halfway through, and like you'd brought a book along and you just like sat and read a book for a little while.
Yeah.
Like, who is this maniac, man? He's like a few days before Western States, he's running like an hour and a half and like sitting halfway through and reading a book. And I don't know, it's just an amazing story. But tell about the time when you bummed a gel off me in the 2012 Western States, so I can take full credit for your amazing achievement.
My record. Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't have happened, man. So even another little story, that the day before that Western States, they wanted to do like some type of like science thing. So they were taking blood. And so I, was giving my blood before the race, and I passed out the night before that race. Felt like complete shit the whole night. But then like, I kind of like fell asleep at a decent time and got sleep. And it's hard to get sleep sometimes. So for whatever reason, like that kind of helped. And there was an earthquake that night. I don't know if you remember that, but there was like a small little earthquake and like, I actually looked it up. We looked up that night, and it was, super small, low grade, but it like woke me up. And I think it was pretty close to like, I'm ready to be up anyway and get ready, but woke me up. And it's like I woke up from like now when I practice meditation, when I wake up and just like everything is so clear and I just feel so like centered and grounded. That's how I woke up to run Western States. And like,
oh wow, dude.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Amazing. And then you went out and shook the earth underneath your feet for
yeah.
So anyway, tell about the gel story, because this is my absolute favorite.
What mile was that? It was like in the canyons, right?
Yeah, going down El Dorado Creek just after Devil's Thumb.
Yeah, right after Devil's Thumbs. And that was a low point for me. I was like, I ran out of gels prior to that. I I was scared. I was like, man, I'm out of gels. I'm hitting a low patch. I'm with the leaders. I was like with you all. And I'm like, this is cool. This is a fun group. We had like, you, Mackie, I don't even remember the whole group, but it was a good group of us and fun. We were talking it up, but I was really in a low moment there. And I remember like nudging you like, dude, you got an extra gel? And you gave me like a gel with caffeine. And I was really nervous. I didn't know if I wanted to take it because it was like caffeine. And the year prior, I was having all these stomach issues and I didn't want to like chance it with that. But like I held on to it for the longest time. And I think it was just, I'm sorry, I think it took your energy, man. But like, you gave me that gel. I didn't even eat it. And at that moment, I was just like, had it because I was debating if I should have caffeine or not. But like, it clicked into my mind. I'm still running with the leaders in a low patch. And then we got down to an aid station. I think I had some raspberries down there, Coke, and Mackie was in the lead getting up to Michigan Bluff, and F&A. I raged up there and didn't look back.
So I've got to provide my side of the story too, because I mean, this is actually one of my favorite kind of stories to tell from my career. And I don't think I've talked about it on the podcast. And so just kind of to paint the picture, of course, we're halfway through Western States, 2012. And that was the year that it was sort of like raining and snowing earlier in the day. The sun was finally coming out. The weather was starting to improve a little bit, but it wasn't like crazy hot. So it was a nice conditions in the middle of a really hard race. And we're running in a group of you, me, Dave Mackey, Nick Clark, and Mike Wolf, like all of like my heroes, legends of the game. Right. And Tim Olson, who had been on a tear that spring, was right behind me as we were going down El Dorado Creek, and bums a gel off me. I hand him, I think it was like a chocolate or a coffee gel. It was definitely caffeinated because I remember that because he didn't eat it. And of course, going through my mind is like, oh, this guy's screwed, right? He's bumping the gel off me halfway through the race. Like, Tim Olson's done, man. Put a fork in him. He's not going to be a factor anymore, like whatever, one down. But yeah, go ahead. Here's a gel for you. And I thought for sure, like, you were toast. And then, we get down to the bottom of El Dorado Creek and you just absolutely dropped the shit out of me on the climb up to Michigan Bluff and ultimately beat me by like an hour and 20 minutes. I was like, this mofo, it's amazing. I thought you were done. And then, you went and had the most amazing course record performance and totally kind of shifted people's thinking about the race at the same time. You're the first person to run under 15 hours. You and Ryan Sands had an amazing race against each other that day. It sort of launched his career forward as well. He ultimately became a champion, probably much credit due to you and the battle that you guys had that day. It's just an amazing, amazing story. And it's so fun to look back on. And so
I forget about that battle a little bit too. That was so gnarly. I thought I was going to die in that part. It was so hot. We were like hiking up this canyon, like stride for stride. And it was like looking at each other. I remember I've shared this story before, but we got to like one of the last Cal streets and like that aid. And I remember we were like eating off the aid station there, like gobbling food up like animals. And then like we look at each other and it was like two animals looking at each other. It was so beastly. It was so awesome. And then like I took off and sorry to say I did the same thing to him that I did to you, or I just like, I had a feeling that I could go and I just went with it. And it was a special day. I don't give a lot of credit to myself. I just like, it was aligned and I was supposed to be doing that. And amazing. I'm super grateful. Yeah.
So cool. And it's fun to talk about now because obviously it's a historical moment in our sport, but for people who come in a little bit later, you may not know all the stories from the history, right? And this was like sort of a landmark moment, I think, in the sport, and especially for you, obviously, as the champion. But then, of course, we had this other dynamic, and we don't necessarily need to go into all of this, but the next year you came back as the defending champion. And I think you had a little bit of this chip on your shoulder about like, oh, he set the course record, but it was like a cooler year. It was faster conditions, which, we don't need to get into, but I don't really agree with that asterisk. But also,
Me neither.
Right. But then you came back and you won again in like the hottest race that we've seen, one of the hotter races that we've seen over the last couple of decades at the race. And you totally vindicated yourself, validated that it wasn't a fluke, and, took a second cougar home for your mantle. But anyway, it's amazing. So, we don't need to spend the entire episode sort of reminiscing old times, but I think it's interesting because you and I, obviously, we've both been in the sport for basically the same amount of time. We're about the same age too. And I think at this point in our careers, I feel like we can really help the next generation of athletes who are coming behind us. And you're somebody who's had like the ultimate success in the sport. Obviously, you've got 2 cougars to show for it, among many other things. And then you've had years where you just couldn't put it together, where your body was totally not cooperating. And I'm sure sort of people reach out to you for advice and stuff. And I wonder, just kind of like based on your experience and looking back at your career, when younger athletes ask you for advice, or is there anything that you look back on from your career that you sort of point them to help them maybe follow in your footsteps in their own way?
Yeah. There's probably, so much I've learned throughout the years through the experience of, just kind of going through it all. I didn't have, I had some good mentors and stuff like that, but I think as we all realize in the sport that you really got to go and figure out what works for you. And, good advice that I think I could give is really tapping into yourself and understanding how you work. And for me, the mainstay that has helped me is meditation. And I share that a lot. And I share it because it changed my life so much. And it really helped me with sport, of course, but just my whole life of being a father, husband, entrepreneur, working. It's really helped me in so many ways. And so that's something I would suggest to anyone, whether it's, just a minute of just checking in with your body, a little body scan of, okay, let me do a couple deep breaths up through the body, scanning, kind of visualizing, and then going back through the body. And that helps me so much of understanding what my body is feeling that day before I go into a training session, whether I'm, to set the intention of am I going really hard and doing, hard repeats where I'm really training, or is this more just, recovery day? And again, with that body scan of checking in with each muscle, going to massage school is really helpful for that. As I was transitioning, as I was becoming an ultra runner, I was going to massage school. So I was learning all these muscles and moving them, injuring them. And then I would sit in meditation and feel them okay, what can I learn from this? And so it's been one of my greatest thing that I've learned in life, and then helping me with ultra running, of just really tuning in with myself. And that helps with running and preventing injuries and training, but it also helps with food of just being mindful, bringing that mindfulness practice into everything. So when my nutrition, I try to eat a really balanced, organic, local, really good whole foods. And that changed my life big time. When I went to massage school, started meditating, started working on my diet, I lost 30 pounds and cause I went from Wisconsin and being a big beer drinker, lots of cheese, as much gluten as I could fit in my belly, I would. And then going to massage school, my wife got blood tested, and we changed our diet up, and she was allergic to these different things. And I kind of I felt like I was allergic to gluten too, but I changed my diet, and that helped so much. And then I think it's just my love of nature. I've had a good career, and I've had a long career through it. And it's not because I want to win every race. And I've had moments where I've trained so hard, and that's helped me win races. And I love doing big training blocks and stuff like that, but I've also overdone it. And I wouldn't say I've overdone it in training. I've overdone it with just life. When I was doing too much training, I was also doing too much media stuff, work. I had,
Racing
kids,
too, right?
racing.
I mean, this
Yeah.
is something too that I think is, while we're sort of on this subject of, giving knowledge to the next generation via our experience, I think this is something that you can speak to really profoundly and powerfully in a way that can really help a lot of other people, because, it's no secret that you kicked the shit out of the sport for a little while and then you paid the piper, and
Totally.
your body was not tolerating what it used to. It sort of hit a point where you would achieve these amazing things and your body wouldn't allow you to do the things that allowed you to achieve those amazing things anymore. Is there a
Yeah.
moment that you can sort of point to where you feel like I stepped over the line there, and, with some perspective, would you have done anything differently?
Yeah. I can't remember which race, what year it was, but when I did Lavaredo, I want to say 2015 or something like that. But I had other races like that. But when I was running that race, my body was like shutting down, and I was having other things like this during training and stuff. But in that race, my body was like shutting down on a super chill flat section. And then I went over, like I had to do this big climb. And in that section, my heart was palpitating so fast. And yeah, my body was just like, it was going out of control. And I was a little scared of like, what is going on with my heart right now, and why, and like having cold sweats and like in night too, I was like having cold sweats. I was definitely too much cortisol. Like I was just like, my body was hormonally, I don't think was doing well, and was giving me so many signs to stop and to listen to it. And then I was kind of in a hard place, and just for me mentally, where I, just won some Western states, had all these people inviting me to every race. This was how I was providing for my family was this. So like, the harder I went, it was like, for my family. And like, I got like, when you become a professional athlete, I didn't think I was going to be a professional athlete as long as I am, and I hope to continue with it. But like, it can be a short career for a lot of athletes, where just a lot of things go down, your body stops on you. And then all these people around me, oh, your body's dead. So many people telling me that, you're just done, give up. Like, see Jeff Rose, his body quit on him, and he stopped. And like, everyone kept telling me to stop. And my heart said like, no, I don't need to stop doing this, but I do need to really check in with myself. And so I was getting all these like, physical things telling me to slow down. And so that's where I probably had moments where I didn't want to. And so I tried to push that too much, and then ended up in some bad races, and just not the person I wanted to be. There was definitely some times where I don't think I was the best husband or father, or just, I don't know, just person. I was just cranky too often. And yeah.
When you sort of come off the 2 victories like that, and you do start to feel the pressure to keep this going, to live up to this stature of being this heroic athlete, and you're getting invited to all the races around the world, and you start to then have these poor performances add up, where you're feeling this feedback from your body that is clearly telling you to stop, or to adjust the way that you're approaching the sport. I mean, what did that kind of feel like? Was there moments of, maybe I should kind of hang up the shoes at this point after a few of these poor races in a row, or after a couple of years of, your body not really feeling the way that it used to? Did you start to lose your love for it at all? Or did it impact the way that you were seeing yourself, having been somebody who had been at the top of the mountain? Like, did you start to have any of those sort of feelings of like, well, maybe I'm washed up and I should walk away from this?
Yeah, but I think it's definitely, but I think it's a feeling that has come and gone a lot, a feeling unworthy of of love. And it's an interesting world to be in sponsorship of a professional athlete where kind of everything in it is conditional. Like they tell you that, like they promise you the world of like, oh, we're going to stay with you forever. This is going to be a great partnership and we're going to keep doing things. And then you have one bad race and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're dropping you and onto the next, person. And it took me a little while to realize that this is business. And as much as I love the sport and whatnot, there's business parts of it. And I had to not get so emotional about that and put my worthiness on sponsors or on winning races. And so I had to just it was something that I've had to work on a lot in my life, but just accepting who I am and loving myself unconditionally. And one that I have struggled for many years until more recently, where I feel like I can look you in the eye and say that I love myself 100%. And I love the quirks of who I am. I love, just I love everything about me. And I love the mistakes I've made and the failures or whatever you want to call these things where you didn't reach your top potential, but I've learned so much from those failures or whatever. The times where when I felt like the most unworthy or felt like, I just wasn't good enough for the sport, wasn't good enough for different friends, my spouse, my kids. That's where I've learned the most to really keep coming back to my heart. While I practice meditation, I come back into that heart space and I radiate love. And it has to start with me before I can, share that with everyone else. And that's something that I've learned a lot over the last few years about. And I think it's helped. It's sparked why I'm so excited for the Pacific Crest Trail. I kind of felt like I was fading out. And I don't feel like I'm fading out in any way. I am just becoming more and more my authentic self. And maybe my authentic self isn't winning Western States every year. Yeah. Maybe it's, going and trying different races. I didn't do, when I got into ultra running, it wasn't just to win a cougar or become famous. It was because trail running to me, going out in nature is therapy. It's where I go to work on myself and become my best self and realize what doesn't serve me and then scratch that and continue to find what does serve me. And
beautiful. Beautifully said, man. And I so appreciate you sharing that. It actually, just to reference my conversation with Kat Bradley again, she said something similar. I just think it's kind of important to recognize that when we have these moments in our career where just everything clicks, and sometimes it lasts a year or 2 years, and we feel like we've sort of got everything figured out. But the nature of life and existence in our careers is that things change, right? And so for you being on the mountaintop and being two-time Western States champion and feeling like you have to live up to this new persona of who you are, even though it doesn't necessarily represent, your core essence as you describe it. And then, feeling the emotional stuff that gets tied up with this new identity and these contracts and these opportunities. And then the conflict that arises inside of us when we feel that lack of worthiness, as you described. So it's super interesting. And I think valuable for people to hear you talk about. And
and so that would be my advice for young kids getting into it, is that you're amazing. You are worthy. You don't have to win Western States to be a great runner. Go out and enjoy the trails, connect with nature and enjoy this beautiful place and explore new places, explore yourself, be curious and see what comes from there. I got to do a video with Billy called The Unknown. And that's ultra running for me is venturing into the unknown, because it can be challenging. It can be uncomfortable, but you can grow and learn so much from those opportunities. And I'm super grateful that I'm privileged enough to, have really good support and to be able to go do these crazy adventures and bring myself to like my core, in kind of in safer environments. And, so yeah, it's cool, but like, know how special you are. Like each one of us, like we're supposed to be here, and we're here, we're needed. We're here to help this world in a positive way. And we're going to have low moments and moments where we don't think we are worthy enough, or like, we just want to hide because no one wants to be our friend. No one like should see this part of me. And so I'm trying to like, show all those parts of me because, I'm a cool dude. So it's good.
The coolest dude. So let's talk about something else that you very openly kind of shared with the community and your fans and those of us who look up to you and admire you. Obviously, you've mentioned your family a number of times here in this podcast, and for those of us who follow you and know you personally, we know that you're a family man, right? And you've mentioned already that your wife is pregnant right now, you guys are expecting your third child in August, hopefully shortly after you finish the Pacific Crest Trail. But you guys have been through a couple of really tough things in the last couple of years. You've lost you've had a couple of miscarriages, and I know it had a huge emotional impact on you and Krista and your entire family. And I wondered if you wanted to share anything about that, and especially now with a baby girl coming in just a couple of months, how you as a family dealt with that really traumatic life experience, how you navigated it, and maybe some things that you learned as a result.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. It's the last few years have been challenging in that sense of dealing with loss. We've over the last few years, we've had 2 miscarriages, and one a later term miscarriage where we were over in the Canary Islands and lost the baby there. And my wife had to have like surgery, and it was just very confusing. And then just with the language barrier, when we found out that, the heartbeat wasn't there anymore, and I was aware of miscarriage. I didn't realize how, how normal and it's just part of life. Like 1 in 4 pregnancies, a miscarriage can happen, and where the baby's heart beats no more. And so many people take that, so many different ways. And for me personally, I was really connected to that baby already. I knew it was a boy, and he was going to join us there. And I was just like, I already bought him some Adidas little baby stuff. And I was just like, full in for it. And then I was over in Hong Kong doing a race there, came back to Gran Canaria, and it was a really hard moment when I saw the heartbeat not going anymore. And then trying like just that realization that baby is not living anymore, like dropped me to my knees. I almost passed out, and everyone takes them differently, but I really felt like I watched my baby just die right there. Like I just saw a car smack my kid and was just gone, and I was just like, it took my breath away, and it was such a shock. And and it brought up a lot. It brought up a lot of sadness in me, and a lot of anger, and a lot of emotions that that I think I've kind of like bottled up over the years and didn't deal with. And so in that moment, I was kind of like, I lost it, where I was like, really, I was not in a good place. Me and my wife were not in a good place. And I was super depressed. I didn't know if I wanted to live anymore. And just really mentally in a really difficult place. And if in my past, I definitely turned a lot towards drugs, alcohol, and just numbing the pain. Just it was the crutch that I used for the longest time. And I my aim was to really, not be addicted to those things. And I worked really hard to like stop drinking, and to, drugs were a really hard problem, where I was selling, using a ton, and just not using them in a positive way. I mean, honestly, I felt like sometimes I was doing a lot of like shrooms during that time, and I feel like an MDMA, and I feel like during that time they actually helped me to work on stuff inside of me. And now that we can see that there's Oregon mushrooms are legal now for work, and I think that's amazing. And but I wasn't using them in the right way, and I was doing coke and meth and every drug, and drinking on top of it. And so I was a mess. And so when we lost our baby, I was like, should I just go back to all the drugs? And like, I went and bought like a bottle of alcohol, and I was just going to start drowning myself in that. And I was like, I was going to go out and like start looking for, I don't know what I was good. I was in a really bad place. And so I got to this point, like, what am I going to do anymore? And just crying, weeping, not sure what to do. And I remember dropping to my knees on this mountain, like actually feeling like the earth that kind of like softened for me, and dropped to my knees and just feeling the grace of the universe, of like that this too, like things come up and they can be so, so challenging, really trying in your life, send you on a spiral. But we have choice. We have choice of, what to do when times get hard. And I thought very many hours of just drinking and turning to that. And I didn't. I put the bottle down and like meditated. And I'm like, no, this is what is going to help. And then from there, I got help. That was something that like, it was months later, but I actually went and got therapy for the like first time in my life. And I've been to jail. I had a parole officer for 2 years, all this probation and stuff. They should have gave me mandatory therapy a long time ago. And I've always trail running, and running was my therapy. And it is amazing therapy, but it is also extremely helpful to talk with other people. And so I got to talk, with a therapist here in Boulder that kind of opened up some things. And then when I went to Costa Rica, I met a really good community of some friends that I made. I met a therapist there. Therapy that we were doing together called compassionate inquiry. Gabor Mate's teaches it, and I really love his philosophy, his teaching. And so I just like, I went deep into like all my runs. I was listening to Ram Dass and just some other teachings. And
is it the Ram Dass Be Here Now podcast?
Yeah, Be Here Now.
I love that.
It's like one of my favorite podcasts. Yeah, I wanted to highlight that because it's a great podcast.
We'll
Raghu
put it
Marcus.
in the show notes. Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. That's funny. I listened to that too.
Yeah. So and then the community, I had like this really beautiful community that I was able to talk with, to have bros like you, that I could talk through things. And I think one of the biggest things happening in this world, we're seeing so much violence and anger and this toxic masculinity going on, where we really need like people to just feel their emotions, to go in and to be angry, to be sad, to feel it all, and not to take it out on everyone, not to, project all your things on other people. And, when you're out in the world and someone cuts you off and like you're dealing with sadness and things going on, not projecting the things that are going on with you of, let's blame this person. Let's make that, I'm just a victim here. And I played the victim role for a lot of my life. And whereas, like this happened to me and, blah, 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 like that's, why I'm sad, why I get angry. And so I think what really helped me was community of some bros, some guys that like we talked about our emotions. We opened up our hearts, like opening it up and like being vulnerable with other humans and having people that actually can listen. It's hard to find friends that can listen and not just want to get their own, whatever that's going on in their mind out, but like listening to you compassionately. And I struck gold with hitting some really amazing people and then being able to like do some inner work and talk through my emotions and just sit with them and feel them and be compassionate to them. And then of course, always coming back, like running is beautiful. Yeah. So I get into nature and get to listen to the sounds of the water and
different type of therapy.
Yeah. Another type of therapy. Like, get in the forest. It's beautiful.
Well, bro, I want to give you a huge hug through the screen right now. It was amazing, beautifully said. And I'm so happy and proud of you that you can even share that. I can't imagine the pain that your family went through in those situations. And I'm just grateful that you would speak honestly about it here on the show with me as friends. And I totally agree 100%. It's so important to get that shit out and to talk with people and to not fight the battles on your own. So
yeah,
thank you, bro. That was really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the PCT.
Yeah. What am I doing this summer?
Oh man. Well, I could talk to you forever about life stuff. Man. And
I got time. So we keep chatting.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, so, obviously this is going to be a huge thing for you. We talked about it at the beginning of our conversation here. You're going to be heading out on the Pacific Crest Trail, 2,600 mile adventure this summer, starting on June 1st. Current FKT is 52 days, 8 hours, and 25 minutes, held by Belgian Karel Saab, who's an absolute monster, especially in these super long things. I think his effort was 2016 or so. So I wanted to just kind of start our conversation about the PCT by talking about, obviously you talked about how it came on your radar and sort of what your goals are and stuff, but you also mentioned that you did this sort of like dress rehearsal, and it makes me curious about just like the overall preparation strategy behind the PCT. And so I want you to talk a little bit about the Kokopelli Trail dress rehearsal that you guys did, what the strategy was for that dry run, and maybe some things that you learned as a result that you hope to apply on the trail itself.
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, this is, a tricky one to train for, right? Like, at 50 plus miles a day. I think right now it's like around 53 miles a day would be like the record, 54 to pass that. And so trying to do that many miles a day is not something I can exactly plan for. I'm not like, I have a family too, that I can't just go out and run for 14 hours a day. So I've been doing just kind of normal training like I would for 100-mile race type of thing, except that I was probably doing more hiking, throwing on my pack more, using my wizard sticks, the hiking poles. You gotta get really, like, I use them all the time. My goal out there is to turn into a jaguar mountain lion. So like I need four points. I need 4 paws. I need 4 points. Yeah, of contact out there. So so like I love being really in tune with the poles as well, and using those. Dialing in gear for this is huge, because I'm going to be starting, in temperatures that could be 100 plus degrees in the Mojave Desert. And then I'm going to get up into the Sierras. Forester Pass is 13 plus thousand feet. So that'll be, I think, the high point of the PCT, and there could be snow and and it's like, and for that, I'm doing this supported. So I'm going to be having crew and, people, my family's going to be in the RV kind of traveling, roughly 50 miles kind of to like the end point. And my awesome coach, Jason Coop, and my father-in-law, Bob, are going to be helping like meet me at different places to give me water. And in some places they can, meet me every 10 or 20 or some miles. And then some places like the Sierras, it's going to be, big, like 5 days, by myself. So dialing in all that gear is definitely challenging. I'm not normally running with a bear canister when I'm doing ultra races. So feeling that out. And so then we were trying to kind of look for, during the time period, there's so much snow here in Colorado that we were looking for a trail that not a ton of snow, a little bit flatter than I'm used to. Cause I'm always doing lots of verts and feel pretty comfortable on the vert, but the Pacific Crest Trail, I don't think it's
start. Yeah. You've got the Mojave Desert. So that was probably smart to go out to the Kokopelli, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. And so we were doing, I think we started like a 45-mile day. And I think I, did close to 50 one day, but it was, between 45 and 50 miles a day we did. And it was kind of, sometimes there was a couple of times where I went 20 plus miles without seeing crew. And, but it was kind of just getting that level, like waking up. And for me, my routine in the morning here, I'm not a morning person. So it's not like I get up and I'm like ready to go run. I like to meditate. I do some Qigong. I like to play with my kids. Like I like having some morning time with them. And so it was kind of just getting on the wake up, go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, get some food and go. And so we were working on this, kind of those transitions, which I think are super beneficial and helpful. Cause I think, something that's really valuable for doing this through hiking, long distance stuff is time on feet. Like, yes, I can run a 50-mile race in, 5 hours, some minutes, 6 hours, whatever, but I'm not doing that every day in the, if I could do 50 miles in 12 hours or something like that is, kind of comparable. And I'm not worrying too much about mileage where I'm going to just have time on my feet. I need to spend basically all day up there. So get up before sunrise, especially in the hot sections, because I need to get up earlier to take advantage of that cooler weather. And then, and just spending a lot of time on my feet it is the name of the game. And then control too. And one thing that I'm learning, well, I've known this, but something I think is valuable from this to going longer distance, even doing like a stage day race, is when I've done 100-mile races and I have a rock in my shoe, I don't care about that rock in my shoe. I'm going to get a blister. I'm going to deal with it. Like I know how to handle pain. And so there's a blister, I'm low on food and stuff like that. I kind of ride it out, and, there's highs and lows in that. I'm sure you've done that a million times. And this, I really need to be, focused on
the little things,
the little things. The next time, like when I have something going on that could cause a blister, I need to be really aware of that. And so that was things that was like adjusting my shoe where I normally wouldn't, or doing a change of socks, or which I don't want to jinx them, but my feet do pretty awesome. I don't get a lot of blisters. I spend a lot of time. I mean, I've spent my whole career of running a lot of hours on my feet, and they have some pretty good calluses. So they're ready for this, but I need to be really diligent of taking care of the little things when the pack is rubbing weird. And in a race, I've had, we've all had those big gashes on our necks here, and big blisters and burns on the back. And it's things where I can't destroy my body on day one. I need to be aware.
Maintenance. Yeah. That's got to take place to get you to the damn finish line. One of the things I'm curious about is, and this, I saw Coop, our coach, our mutual coach, last weekend. And I think we talked about this a little bit, but we were talking about your effort in general quite a bit. But one of the things that I was curious about is how you approach the fitness level before starting, right? Like it seems to me like it might be a situation where it's better to go in a little bit less fit so that you sort of run your way into fitness while you're out there. And so you don't go into it with just this crazy high level of fitness and then end up totally burned out halfway through. Is that something that you guys considered at all, or anything there that you want to expand on?
A little, it's been a little challenging with that of trying to figure, I think this is how my training's kind of worked with, I normally don't take days off. running. I run pretty much every day if I can, but I have 2 kids and a wife and life, like as we all do. And so I just let life guide my days off. I mean, I will choose it if I'm injured or I just ran a race, like I take days off, but like there's just certain times where my kids really need me, or my wife wants to go do something, where I just skip a run for that reason. And so then going into this, it's funny. Our coach, Coop, has told me to get fat, like to eat more. And it's different. You normally don't try to eat a lot more and like junk food before going into a race. I try to eat really clean. I drop weight before getting into a race just because I'm like tapering and whatnot.
Yeah.
Here, like my focus has not been like, I think I've done plenty of training, and he keeps telling me this, that I've been doing training for years, and I feel like I did almost 250 miles in like 5 days. I feel like I'm plenty fit. I was doing that in good time, that I'm not worried about my fitness. I'm worried about taking care of my body. So even like these past few weeks, I'm running, but maybe an hour, like at 2 max right now. I would have liked to do a little bit more of like kind of some night stuff, or like, sleeping in my bivvy and kind of dialing in that a little bit better. And I still might do, go out for a night and just kind of sleep in my bivvy one more time before I, get ready for that, to just kind of dial it in. But
don't do that, bro. You figure it out when you're out there.
I'll figure it out. But I like, there's these things that like I probably could do more.
2 weeks in a comfortable bed before you go out and do this.
I want to be, and that it comes back. I want to be in like just in a good spot. I think more than anything mentally, that like if it comes between running, training, or meditating, I'm going towards meditating right now, because like physically I'm right where I should be. And like you said, like I feel like, like right now, I don't think my legs could take 50 miles a day, but I think like I'll start there, and like I will get stronger. I'll probably have like a really hard week where it's like, oh my God, what am I doing to my body? And I'm hoping my body then can adapt and rise to the challenge.
Dude, I think this point about, making sure that you're in a good place. I mean, this is something that I harp on the podcast all the time. And sort of something that you referenced earlier with your 2012 Western States. It's those moments where you have your family life, your personal life dialed, and when you're feeling good about yourself and have that self-love that you talked about so eloquently earlier, that you have the amazing performances. And so when you describe whether, if you have the choice between meditating and run training, that it's important to do that meditation training in order to have those breakthrough type performances that I think you're going to want to have over on the PCT. One of the things, I mean, you've sort of mentioned it, is, it's all about time on feet, right? And these are going to be super long days, but it seems to me like the core fundamental, I guess, North Star, the strategy that like you need to employ is just minimize like the low mileage days, minimize those 0 days, because the record now seems to be, I mean, it's absolutely insane that you have to run 53, 54 miles a day for 50 days in order to get the record.
I don't think about it too much.
Right. I mean, that's madness. So it's like, it's really all about minimizing the low mileage days due to whatever, injury, fatigue, whatever, poor nutrition. So, I mean, maybe talk a little bit about that part of things. I mean, how do you pace it in such a way where you take the 50-day pace, rather than, get to a point where you do end up having to take a 0 day and then having to really try and force yourself to make up for it later on in the effort?
Yeah. The aim is to not have those 0 days, and like there's going to be things that come up, and take, like I do in races, take advantage when you're feeling good and move the best you possibly can. But I definitely, even when I did the week trial and my different training, I feel like I have this different gauge in me that I'm just really listening to my intuition and like what it tells me of how fast to go, of when to eat. And I feel like I have this guidance going on within me. And I really kind of just communicate with that message that I keep getting, that like, okay, this is what I've been doing in my training, where I'm just feeling really connected with nature. And that's kind of what I've been doing, is that I sing to nature. I connect with the trees and just kind of spend time with them. And it seems to kind of take away from the mental energy of trying to figure out time or pace. Like, I'm just going out for this awesome adventure, and I need to stay at a good pace, but it's just kind of my enjoyment pace. I don't like walking really slow. I like kind of moving, and I'm hoping just to keep moving in whatever fashion. And there's going to be moments where I feel like complete crap, and I do need to just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And just kind of, I think, laughing at some of those times of like seeing the big joke of this, like, of it's really easy to take things so seriously and get in your mind of like, gosh, if I don't knock off this 50 miles, it's all done. And then you can like keep feeding the story of like, you're not doing good enough. You like playing this catch up and chase the whole time, where I'm hoping to really enjoy this experience and enjoy those low moments, because I know from low moments you can rise above them, and it can really bring out like some of your best days and your best experiences out there. And, so I think I just need to really, like, when I'm having a low moment, that like, that's where I'm going to meditate and like try to like not do the mental game. Like, I mean, I could play mental games this whole time of telling all these stories, and that's just going to be a waste of energy. So I rather use my energy for good things and moving forward. So, that will be kind of the mindset of moving day in and day out. And then when I do, I don't even know what to exactly say, because like those low days are going to come where I have to do it. And that's where I need to just keep trusting that like I can do this, and that, like that the universe has my back and is pushing me, is guiding my way. And that,
I love
like, that's what I'm going to lean on. I'm not doing this by myself. I'm not, if this works out and I actually do well, it's not all me. Like it's
the universe has your back, bro.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I listened to your conversation with Buzz Burrell over on the Fastest Known podcast, and you guys talked a lot about gear. So for people who are interested in that stuff, go check out that interview with Buzz. One thing you guys, I don't think really talked about was the whole sleep thing. This is something that I'm really curious about, and having talked to Corey Woltering after he did the Pinhoti Trail, which was like 5 days, again, sort of 1/10 the overall time expenditure that you expect to do out there. I'm wondering what like the strategy is with the whole sleep component. Obviously there's going to be some nights when you spend it out on your own with your bivy. You've got a van where I'm sure you're going to probably sleep occasionally. But in terms of like time, right? If we're doing 50 miles a day, some days will be quicker than others. I mean, is it a situation where you want to be getting 8 hours of sleep sometimes, or is it just always get up before dawn, keep going until after dinner time, crash, do it over again, for whatever it is, 6-7 weeks?
Yeah. So like I have all these plans in my mind and like on paper and stuff like that. And I really want to keep coming back to like how I'm feeling in the moment. Cause I feel like of course, yes, the plan is going to be as much time on feet. So I do need to get up, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of 8-hour night sleeps. And I love 8 hours of sleep. And I think it's going to be this, this balancing of pushing myself, but then being able to recover. Like, right. Recovery is what my body needs to recover to be able to do 50 miles a day. Yeah. And it's going to be slowly breaking down. So I'm hoping to be eating really good food that's helping me, like getting good nutrients to my body. And then some days not sleeping as much. There's going to be like, especially in the Sierras, like I'll be woken up by a cold night. Like I am going minimal. I'm going to have like, in that section, I'll have a little bivy, a little sleeping bag, and I chopped up like a little thermarest like mat, like, to my body, so I can I can have those moments, but then I think there'll be times where, like, let's say I get through the Sierras and it went hopefully strong, but like it broke me down a little bit. I might come out of that and like want an 8-hour night of sleep.
Yeah.
And so I think there'll be moments where I take an 8-hour night of sleep, or like really focus on recovery a little bit more. And some moments where I'm focusing on trying to push an extra hour of time on my feet or getting up a little bit earlier. And I think that's just going to fluctuate, where I think like I'll probably have a week of like sleep deprivation, and hopefully my team or I can realize that like it's detrimental and like to the project, and like 1 extra hour of sleep might change my whole outlook. And I've seen that time and time again with ultra running, with multi-day things, where, I mean, people take a 5-minute nap, a 15-minute nap, and it changes their whole perspective.
Yeah.
And that's, I think the name of this game is perspective changing, and seeing it from different angles, and not always being in my world is going to be, I think, hopefully grounded, but like can get a little messy at times where my head is spinning with things. I'm hurting a lot. Let's say my back goes out, and, you know, it's just a really hard few days. And I don't know if I'm going to, like, you know, if I can carry all the weight of this project of just of it all, that like I'll have those low moments. And that's where I have an incredible team to hopefully lift up my spirits, and where I take a moment to maybe sleep a little bit more, getting some better food. And for me, taking some time in nature, of like pausing and not thinking about the PCT, and just thinking about like that bird is pretty awesome right now.
Dude,
and
you should take a book. You should take a book with you, like 2012 Western States, and occasionally.
Most definitely. Herman Hess will be with me for sure.
Siddhartha. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That was the book then. And I'll definitely have a few books like that.
Was that the book? Siddhartha was the book. Wow.
It was the book.
Makes the story even better. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. I almost said it during it, but from that day on, I read that book before every 100-mile race I ever ran. From that. But I love that book. It's it's a good one. And yeah.
So good. So, how can people follow it? I mean, I don't know if you're going to have like a spot tracker that people can sort of monitor the whole time, if that's something that you're going to keep under wraps a little bit more, if people are going to be updating on your social, but certainly I'm sure there's a lot of people who are going to want to keep tabs on you over those 50 plus days out on the trail. Is there any way that people can check in?
Yeah, I will have an inReach with you know, like a little tracker to follow me along. Adidas is like, they're stoked about this, so they're I think we're gonna have like something on Outside Magazine or something Outside Online that they'll have like a tracker of me. And so I'll have that. Adidas will have it, an Adidas Terex on their Instagram. My Instagram, my family's going to help me a little bit with posting things. I do my own social media, so it's like I'm probably not going to have a lot of time to be throwing up regular videos on there. But like,
Tristan, we're gonna hand it off to Tristan.
Exactly, Tristan's taking over. So we'll update on mine, but like Adidas Terex will be updating and on their website, and then I believe they're going to have it on Outside. I'm going to have, you know, I'll be updating via Strava and my tracker. So I'm hoping to record as much as I possibly can. And put it out there. You know, it's definitely, we're in a little bit different age right now where, you know, like I would have loved everyone to come out there and, you know, run with me and get totally, you know, Forrest Gump style, where I get the, you know, everyone behind me running. With COVID, we're definitely, our team is more of a little bubble, and we're trying to be really mindful of, you know, the current situation and all the communities that we go through, other trail hikers, we want this to be a really positive thing for Adidas, myself, for the environment, for this world. I want it to be a positive thing. It's just like, even all the gear that I'm wearing, we're working with Parlay, which is a company which turns ocean plastic waste into all the clothing that I'll be wearing. My shoes, all my running gear is all going to be made with Parlay recycled ocean plastic with Adidas. And we're going to be doing starting off here really soon, Run for the Oceans, where anyone that wants to join can download the Runtastic app, do miles for the ocean, and then Adidas will match that to be helping helping this plastic situation that we're all dealing with, whether you live by the ocean, where yes, there's lots of plastic in the ocean, but there's plastic particles in our air, in the mountains, in everywhere. And I feel like that's just a really big issue right now. The environment as a whole, but like plastic waste and just the consumption of overconsumption of things. And so we're hoping to bring awareness to that and, show what you can do if you are innovative and can take a problem and turn it into a solution. And so I'm stoked to be working with Adidas and Parlay on that and promoting them and just taking care of the oceans and our environment. And that's just something for me, being known maybe as a mindful athlete. Like I just bring mindfulness into every corner of my life, that like whether I'm voting in politics or going to the grocery store and buying food, or having a sponsorship with a company. I want it to be a company that like aligns with my values and that aligns with the earth, because that is what I care most about. And I want this to be positive for all.
Man. Beautifully said again. Well, I'm hoping that I can penetrate your COVID bubble during your experience out on the trail. Harmony and I just booked a rental in Mammoth so that I can do my pre-Hard Rock training camp. So we did the math, and we think you'll be coming through after about 3 weeks, I think, out on the trail. So I would love to be able to join you for a day or two if you need the company.
I would love to see you out there. You're more than invited. Let's bring us back to we've been teammates for a very long time. And even though like we're not on the same team right now, you are always my teammate, man. Like I cheer for you no matter any race you're doing. Like I'm gunning for you. I appreciate you in our community. I love what you're doing with Pyllars and with the podcast, but also with like just, showing people, proper techniques of taking care of the body, whether it's physical or mental. And so keep doing what you're doing. And thanks for being such an awesome teammate forever. And it's looking forward to seeing you out there, and hopefully I'll give you a gel.
You can bomb a gel off me.
I'm gonna give you a gel so you can go take on Hard Rock, man. Yes. I'd love for you to crush Hard Rock. So and all the best to you, man, this year.
Well, big hugs, bro. Yeah, it's been great to reconnect, and there's a lot more stuff I'd love to chat with you about. So we should do more of the reminiscing stuff. Maybe we'll record one while we're out on the JMT section outside Mammoth Lakes, and
sounds awesome.
share more of the stories from the olden days. But for now, buddy, big hug, big love to you and the fam. I hope everything goes super smoothly. Sleep in your bed for the next 2 weeks and go get them out there on the PCT.
Right on, man. Thank you.